Islam, Islam. First I rise, giving all praise. Oh, sorry. Islam. First I rise, again, all praise to the great God of the universe, Allah, spreading to Allah. So honors the Prophet Nujar Ali, and all honors all prophets do, and all honors to what the actual chaplain, the Mahdi, have already, the Magi has already sent honors to Islam. I'm taking a reading from chapter 29, Magistrating Subject. These are the divine instructions from the Holy Prophet. Ayat 1. O thou favored of heaven, whom the sons of men, thy equals, have agreed to raise the sovereign power and set as a rule over themselves. Consider the ends of the importance of their trust, far more than the dignity of the height of thy station. Thou art clothed in purple and seated on the throne. The crown of majesty investeth in the temples. The scepter of power is placed in the hand. But not for thyself were these ensigns given to thee, but they were meant for thy own, but for the good of thy kingdom. The glory of a monarch is the welfare of his people. His power, his dominion rests on the souls and on the hearts of his subjects. The mind of a great prince is exalted with grandeur of his situation. He evolveth high things and searcheth for business worthy of his power. He calleth together the wise men of his kingdom. He counseleth among them with the freedom of the heart, and he heareth the opinions of them all. He looketh among his people, and with discernment he is discovereth the abilities of men, and employeth them according to their merits. His magistrates, his justice ministers, wise, are favorite of his bosom, deceiveth him not. Islam.
All right, Islam. Yes, that was very potent reading from chapter 29 of our Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, affectionately referred to as the Circle 7. And so we appreciate that from our noble Sifu. And, if you're just tuning in, this is the special session hearing from the International Interfaith Court. And we have some news to break to you. And this is actually going to be a reading of the invoice. I like to give high honors to the heavenly hosts that surrounded us, courtesy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is Mikael salatu salam, Jibreel salatu salam, all the heavenly hosts on the clock, on the wheel, pardon self, on the wheel here. See what I mean? On the wheel. On the wheel. All right. Ariel salatu salam, Uriel salatu salam. We don't often give honors to Uriel salatu salam, and all of your personal guardian angels that surround you and guard you, your ancestors that walk with you in your DNA every day. You know what I'm saying? So we like to give high honors to all the interfaith court officers and chaplains and magistrates. Clerks of the court, Chaplain Judy Pinckney Ill, Chaplain Nina Ill, our chief advocate, Dr. Poetica Bey, and, other chaplains and magistrates in training from ecclesiastical districts of the Moorish Science Temple of America out there in so-called Colorado Corporation Territory District, Territory, Noble Woodford Eel. And so this today is a reading that was dated 30 days ago on so-called January 16th, 2026 CE. It is to the Yemen Embassy in Washington, D.C. And it is, let's see if we can pull something up on the screen, slides and PDFs. Let's look at it. Let's go there, upload a file. And possibly you all can see with the screen sharing feature. Because you gotta get, really used to it. Just so you know, the International Interfaith Court was started in 2013 CE here in Philadelphia District of Ghana Medina, Kakwanak, Lenape Hoken, Indian country here in Moorish National Republic, and then Greater West, Northwest of Mexico. And so at that time, we began to invoke, or let's say, rather, make and enforce law as instructed by our Moorish uh, divine constitution and bylaws, to be able to uh, live amongst our own vine and fig tree as instructed by our holy Prophet Noble Ali. And so at that, we had to, live out chapter 29 as the dear Noble Sifu read off, which is the magistrate and subject chapter of the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. And as he read in in the first line, the key ayah of that chapter, it mentions that the magistrate is sovereign, or that, sovereign as a word is used. And we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Lord of all the worlds and boundless universes, is the sovereign. And that's one of his 99 attributes, right? And so we are reading this off today to give them due notice of their fault 30 days out. And, just know this is a part of our due diligence. And as we said, it was dated January 60, 2026. Invoice for unpaid security patrol and chaplaincy services from 2019 to 2025 CE. So these services that we're billing for and that we have invoiced them for are for a range of years, a range of years. And let's bring it up on the stage so you can see what it's like. Here we go. All right, now. Just allow you to make it bigger. Move from the studio. Maybe here you go. Y'all can see it. Y'all can see it. Yeah. Tell me, but let's see. That's page 1. Did it get bigger right there when I did that? No. It just stayed the regular size. All right. So let's go back a little bit. All right. There you go. Page 1. That's what it's saying, right? So our services include mobile patrols and security presence, right? These are all things that we did, by the way. This is not us, let's say, striving to get a job. This is not us looking to get a job. This is something that we did already from the years of 2019 through 2025, intermittently on various routes of community policing and just regular chaplaincy visits, and or just coming to the stores ourselves as patrons and realizing from the onset that's really how it started. Let's be extra real, Moors. If you just tuned in, this is the special session for the International Interfaith Court. In the subject here is the invoice for unpaid security patrol and chaplaincy services by the smoke shops, specifically, just so you know, within the East Coast of the United States of America Corporation of Greater Western Northwest Mexico. And so that's the framework that this is in. Due to us being patrons of stores, we often find various, let's say, price gouging incidents, uh, all kinds of things that we, realize as regular people from the neighborhood in the inner city and things like that, where they create food deserts. And then, so therefore, they have convenience stores, bodegas, gas stations, but in the hood, they have these bodegas or affiliates we call poppy stores. And so the food desert and food insecurity causes the hyper demand for convenience stores and the over, they just milk it till it's done. And so this is all a big investigation that turned in, it came from a shopping experience, turned into an investigation, turned into a situation where, you realize as angel advocates, as angels of Allah, as we are instructed to teach upon the hedges of the highways, you know, teach men to repent from sin and learn to love instead of hate. That's our primary commission as members of More Science Civil America and morally as sundry free Moors and free Moorish society. So no matter what, we are usually in a constant state of prayer. We're not necessarily doing prayers just one time a day or 5 times, 3 times a day. No, we're in a constant state of prayer. You see what I'm saying? We don't necessarily go to the physical church or temple to do worship. We know that our body is a temple, right? And that we don't have to go there to do our works. We're really mobile missionaries. So a lot of times we really most of it stems from us doing things and living our lives, but as muftis and sergeants at arms and security forces within our private juror society, you know, we realize, yo, man, as angel of Allah, we never off duty. You know what I'm saying? Baba Noel, we're never off duty. So it really stems from the fact that we had to intercede because the process of witnessing so many other shoppers from the community using these shops and getting into fights, arguing with each other, arguing with the shop attendants. And at that point, we were compelled to intercede. And so myself and my empress, Dr. Poetica Bey, other Moors that we know, and we invite you as well to testify and also give feedback or just give your experience, and so for the record and on the record. So this invoice is after years of us providing the service for free and out of the love and the natural inclination to fulfill our rights and obligation to our Lord and to the Ummah community at large, as a man or any adult is obliged to protect their community and to protect themselves, right? And so, yeah, this is going to explain on these pages what the services are, just as a GP, as an explanation, expounding rather, uh, just so that those of you agencies or agent actors who are responsible to pay this bill to us, you can understand, and comply and realize that, yeah, we just had to bill you for it. It's kind of like you you meet a cool guy in the elevator, and then something happens to you as you're coming out the elevator. He helps you not get in trouble. You realize he's an attorney, and then he's a lawyer, whatever he is, and then you start using his services on and on and on. Eventually, you're like, oh, I civilian took you on as a client arbitrarily. I didn't realize it. I didn't know I would be. So it's not exactly, doesn't exactly correlate. However, that is a example to let you kind of understand. So our services for our chaplaincy and our mobile missionary, security patrol community policing services include mobile patrols and security presence, crisis response and de-escalation, protection of property and persons, spiritual uh, and community support in accordance with interfaith principles. All right. So we documented the critical and escalating public safety, public health, and child welfare crisis centered on numerous smoke shops operating in Philadelphia, New York, North Carolina, Florida. They're all usually from Yemen, primarily as a country of nationals that the attendants slash employees slash workers are hailing from. We speak Arabic enough to talk to them all the time. Kula wakit, yatakalamun, kalamtu lugata Arabiya, ma'ana. So we speak it together with them, and they always tell me that they're from Yemen, whether we're in Brooklyn Corporation, whether I'm in Little Haiti in Miami, whether I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina. They seem to all be owned by Yemen nationals and have Yemen nationals behind the counter. So bear that in mind. All right. We've uncovered systematic violations of child exploitation, illegal narcotic sales, of course, unregulated labor, and an environment escalating violence. This statement details our direct interventions, the legal and humanitarian violations observed, and the urgent need for coordinated and multi-agency response to protect the vulnerable populations and restore community safety. Now, how this got so deep, is because Seafood Babinur, like, they used to have a lot of 12 and 13-year-olds, 14 behind the counter, selling that good Bob Marley marijuana. And they had them working for 10, 12 hours at a time. And they began to argue because anybody that's tired, it's hard to do a good job or count money or whatever. English is their second language primarily. So they speak more English than a lot of the older ones. At the same time, though, we were forced to intercede and bless her heart. The green goddess herself, Dr. Poetica Bey, she really kicked in with her child rescue services, even though we didn't realize or know in advance that that's what it would be or become. You see what I mean? So the child rescue services kicked in because she was able to chaperone those young Yemenis and Arab employees. You see what I'm saying? She was able to chaperone them home, take them off the set, because I had to tell those brothers that own those shops in Arabic and in English that we don't, like, we have child labor laws. You know what I'm saying? We have a moral code. And so you already have them selling illicit things behind the counter, illegally risking their life and being deported. And most of them don't have any papers, So it became a human trafficking exploitation thing, harboring and employment of authorized aliens. We have our booklets here. I'll email them out for a small love offering. We need some finance. We got a lot of mailings to do. We have more uniforms we have to get for our Boondock Saints first responders units to continue patrolling these sites. So, make sure you reach out to us at the Interfaith Court for any of your needs. If you have any lawful needs that you have a need to be resolved, we do video affidavits, and we're taking cases dealing with all kind of family court issues, all kinds of issues affecting your livelihood. You know, so that's what we're focusing on. Let me turn to page 2 on this here, but we can turn the page. You turn to page 3 now. All right, slide number 3. But get these booklets. I mean? We got the copy right here. Shouts out to all the Boondock Saints first responders. I mean? We got the Interfaith Court Press here, cranking it out, all the books, everything. Let's go. You know what I'm saying? You got the Air That Chamber book. The more, once you register, you get little gifts like this, all kinds of legalized Arabic language tutorials, and every type of protections and training that you need. Inshallah. So page 3. Of course, the creation of a public nuisance and danger zone, these shots have become focal points for violent competition. Non-affiliated drug dealers conglomerate inside and outside these establishments. You know what I mean? Like, they sent many of my people's home. You know what I mean? Like Biggie Small said, they was just trying to feed their daughter. So now they're just stealing more jobs. That's how it all really got down. Like, really in 2020 and 2021. So many of the hustlers was about to bang them out for real, and it was a lot of drama, and they was coming. We had to really do a lot the first years. I swear to God, wallahi, you know what I mean? We had to do so much because it was treacherous. We had to tell a lot of the hustlers, yo, don't fight, rob, or shoot any of your customers or former customers. Because, it's the stores taking the money. They're just the customers still. Because, it's like people don't have the wherewithal to fight the system or fight a system. So they might lash out at an easy target. You see what I mean? So it's somewhat an easy target to go to the next step off of there and do what? Get mad at the customer. You see what I'm saying? So a lot of hustlers get mad at customers. It's very dangerous those couple of years. Because how much percentage, with all them smoke shops being so prevalent, how much percentage of the hustlers' so-called income they making was reduced by every month? What percentage you think? You know what I mean? Yeah, they went from being the main suppliers to now these stores of Arabs, and they have lines out the yin yang hanging around the corner. And a lot of them stores were called the Romans, yo. Y'all were right. I don't know if I put that in there and told me. Well, I ain't bill you for that. Yo, I just billed you for that. Yo, for real though. A lot of y'all stores called the Romans like Arab, Arab Karens, Kings and all that. But y'all was selling, bumping, but y'all had the Romans make sure that all the guys hanging around the stores was getting booted out or ran off. It was vicious. You know what I mean? So that's the public nuisance and danger zone. Of course, there's obvious statement of need for community policing. Shouts out to the cop watch around the country. We went over that the other day as a special shout out. And we only brought it up because there's so many of you that may not be interested nor trained enough to serve in our interfaith court, nor in our, Moorish Science Temple Chapter 29 court, our magistrate and subject court. However, our Sharif, Noble Seafood Christopher Jackson Bey, we call him Baba Noel Bey, you know what I'm saying? The Moorish Santa and you know, Sharif Bynum Bey, uh, Sharif Aziz Ali Bey, the shaman, you may not join or be qualified for that Sharif's department. But we have the Boondock Saints first responders. We launched that for all the believers and knowers and lovers of freedom, justice, and equality. You see? And so you can join the Boondock Saints first responders as laymen and as mobile missionaries uh, alike. And so um, you can be a part of the routes that we create, the patrol routes. And that's what I brought in Cop Watch for, because that will warm you up for even the Boondock Saints. Just reading the Cop Watch material, the literature, and learning what that means from that aspect. And also, we will allow you to join Boondock Saints first responders unit whenever you register. You see, and so that's what it is. If you just tuned in, this is the International Interfaith Court special session from our Interfaith Marshals Division, by the way. And our marshals, you know, they had me create, you know, a ticket book, Morris. Like honestly. So when you join Boondock Saints, when you actually join the Interfaith Court, the Sharice Department, we're issuing ticket books that have the religious laws uh, encoded, so that we, you know, there's a lot of price gouging. We brought it up in here. We'll skip over to it. Matter of fact, let's see. That's page 1, 2, right? And then report crimes 3, 4. Let's skip over to that so you could get a concept. All right, here we go. And that's going ahead. We got it on the screen. Let's go. Boom, boom. We'd like to give high honors to our dignitaries on the line, the Sheikh Noble Luis, Discarando Il, and all our executive rulers across these shores, for all the sundry and free Moors. And so let's keep it going to so you can see what does this start with. Yeah, here we go. All right. So these are the Yemenis American smoke shops, Quranic and Sharia law violations. Now, mind you, we have a whole list of them and where they're at. And so a bulleted list in PDF, I'm working on it with the AI. But they, you know what I mean? I learned the AI is for the Asiatics. You know what I'm saying? Because the noble prophet, Drew Ali, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he's like, what? When the grind, when they go off grid and the wheels of commerce screech to a halt, go on restarting in favor of Asia. That's AI, right? Part of it, right? So you get that bulleted list, and feel free to donate because we need paper and we need some finance to actually mail some of this stuff out and get some more uniforms, really, and give you guys some more training. I'll put it up on the screen, Interfaith Court at Gmail. Make sure you email us and you send us our cash app. You know, I'll put the cash app up here, talk about a more science university Arabic class that you can see it scroll by. But let's get back because these are Arabic and Islamic violations that they got, right? So they did dealing in intoxicants, consuming, selling pork products. We all know that. Facilitating sin and transgression. These are all from the Quran, chapter 5, Surah 5, ayah 2, dealing intoxicants, Quran Surah 5, Ayat 90 and 91, right? And let's see, 3, boom. Harming and exploiting minors, all right? Violating the general principle of guardianships, waliya, which is the Islamic legal principle. A guardian, a wali, is obligated to protect a child's religion, life, intellect, lineage, and property. Violation, employing children to sell intoxicants directly attacks their religion, their deen, involving them in sinful trade. Intellect, akal, exposes them to substances that impair judgment, and life and well-being, nafs, places them in physical danger from violence and criminal activity, right? Oppression and injustice, boom, boom. And 4242, citation. And whoever commits oppression, you will make him taste a great punishment, right? Violation, exploiting vulnerable, undocumented children for labor constitutes clear and oppression and is a grave sin. So this is real deal, you know what I mean? Because we had to chaperone those children for over a solar year in 2021 and 2022, meaning that I had to talk in Arabic and English to the mudir, the manager of the shop, and tell him that he gonna get in trouble for child labor laws. And then my wife is a chaplain. Then they would pay us to take them off set because we had to take them out of there. They'd be there 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours. You know what I mean? Over the counter selling that. You know what I mean? So that was too much. So we had to do it. So it's in the bill. It's in the citation. We didn't charge them a lot. It's from 2019 to 2025, right? So that's not a lot to be saying that they owe 226,800 U.S. notes or dollars rather. Because we want specie, and so that we said that basically, we had 3 locations that we patrolled in 2019. You understand? You see what I mean? 3 locations. So the 3 locations were just 3 smoke shops around the city of Philadelphia territory and Brooklyn Corporation. By 2020, we had went to 6 locations, right? And by 2021, we had 9 locations. We basically add 3 locations every solar year. And we only charged them $300 each month for these visits. Where we had to stop plenty of fights. Where we had to make sure plenty of children were safe and not getting hurt and fighting old head customers through the glass. And I mean, a whole bunch. We can go on and on ad nauseum. All the way up to 18 locations in 2024 that we can count off the address where they at, what they do. You see what I'm saying? I don't got all a marijuana in our, you know what I mean, in the evidence room. So I just keep it real. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? So I had to take some of the evidence to the evidence room. You know what I mean? However, that's how, like any good detective, this is how I knew it was the real deal. GMO, fake behind marijuana with no seed. In the Holy Bible, it says every seed bearing fruit in the Piscean record is meat. And they just took the seeds out of it. So it takes the herbal quality from it and take the healing of the nations, like the Rastaman, Jah Rastafari say, right? So that's a sin there too. So, that was part of my investigation out of the evidence room, see, So, so if you just tuned in, this is the International Interfaith Court special session. Do we have any dialogue? What is your general sentiment about it so far? I want to remove this. Excuse me. What is your experience over the years in their proliferation in the marketplace?
Yeah, I would like to say that this type of act of heinous crime that they're participating in is a serious thing that needs to be dealt with. Mainly because they're exploiting children without giving them a fair shot to grow and grow their mind and increase their knowledge. Because when they are ready to enter the workforce, they will enter that, and they are made said laws for that. Because America as a nation, and even when it turned into a corporation as a corporate nation, had to deal with eventually labor laws, because by the time people were digging a lot of coal and steel, they would use a lot of children to dig a lot of that stuff out. And by the time they was reaching 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, they would die and have back problems and stuff like that. So this is a serious problem. And they use the excuse of COVID and things like that while they're doing stuff like that. It was just utter deplorable manners of displaying them being Muslim or Muslim that just wasn't being a part of the deen. That has to be corrected, as well as they know better. Because they wouldn't do that over there in Yemen, so they would try it over here, because over here is the land of opportunity.
The land and
It's the
opportunity.
land of opportunity. So of course they would try that. So that, that
On
that's
that
that,
note,
that's how I feel about that. That things need to change on that. And it's also deep how they also required what security as well, because they already know that sometimes response time from the police is little to none depending on what area it is. So what they needed muftis just like what they had over there. So they're so familiar with such a concept that they just what? How would you say? See, in the military, we say you got gang pressed in, but I would just say a softer way would say you fell into the folds without knowing that you fell into the folds, because it looked familiar enough to you. But gang Preston.
let me now on that note, that kind of reminds me of some things too, because they ain't doing it in their country. It's saying violation of Yemen's anti-narcotics law, number 3 of 1993. Now, what does that mean? Let's see. Let's see what that could mean. Oh, yeah. Okay, right? Because a few of the nationals and those interfaith court officers, well, all right, there you go. We're still here on Grand Body House, and we're going to continue. But yeah, they don't do that in their particular neck of the woods, so to speak, and they just come to our country to do this stuff. But in their country, Yemen has strict laws prohibiting the cultivating, trade, possession, and use of narcotics, including cannabis, marijuana. Penalties are severe, avoiding imprisonment and fines. Now, we know that the herb is for the healing of the nations. So we're primarily dealing with the fact that, A, they must have some kind of contract with the foreign venue in order to do this, because I've seen police districts protect them and sit outside and not bother any of their customers all night, but they're really there because there's so much danger with the malarkey that they're causing, as we said. It's so dangerous with that they have to just be out there. The Romans got to be present, like across the street or whatever, sometimes in front of the place, right? Not bothering the soul, like they hire them, like they do, like, yeah. So that's it. They must have some legal loopholes where someone has said to me on the streets even that when they started, and I do remember this, they had the license to sell the GMO weed, the fake weed, basically. And so they schmoozed their way into the real stuff from that, and I do remember that. So there's a lot of Asian countries in Korea, and different nations who what? They got agreements to come over here tax free and open up Chinese stores or whatever it is because their countries were bombed. Now, I'm a military person. I do know Yemen probably was bombed to they put 2 times by military and from the 90s on up, 80s on up, So was that a part of their agreements? They can come to the Moorish American Foundational Black American Misnomer community like everybody else got a deal. It seems like that, y'all, because now we need y'all help. You know what I'm saying? We need y'all donations. Send it to the Cash App, $Magi Chaplain Eel up on the screen right here. And make sure you join or register to get the training and open up a branch or operate. If you're in Philly, New York, East Coast area, come to the Boondock Saints First Responders Training. Shouts out to Prince Bishop Alfred L. Phillips, who, is one of basically let me turn this around. Yeah, boom. Let's see. So, it doesn't get this thing going. Here we go. Here we go. All right. So I don't really have anybody responding, but give us a little feedback because we went out there and traded some coins. We dealt with the community like we're supposed to, and so what is your general sentiment before we wrap up? Do you have any last statements?
Yeah, just got a little couple last statements. That's all. Yeah, we did go outside. Dialogue teaching the folks out here like I always do about gold and silver and all like that, but also getting the mental climate of some of the things of what's going on here because some of the young wolves out there that be out there they be feeling like they getting their business getting stepped upon. And they feeling like, what's up with all these foreigners coming here and they get to set up business and stores get to do what we do and we can't even get a store like that. And they just now to the point where I
Ooh,
gotta lower down my prices, and now things are so inflated over here. Like if when you understand business and you understand supply and demand, the supply over on particular parts of the city is so flooded with these drugs that the demand for getting what would normally you would go to a brother around the way is not there because these other foreigners are providing what some folks are now hooked on. So that could also be an issue too that has to be looked in. It's from my observations, I should say. And with that, that should be my little final remarks on that. If there's anything else that
yeah.
you want to add on to that.
Well, I think that it was really camel walking off of what I was saying, and that's spot on. It's just adding on extra. I'm like, wow, yeah, because that's what I was thinking for those first few years, but it's still like that. And so, we have to make sure that the native son, the homegrown Moors across these shores, had an opportunity to have trade and commerce and not be overtaken in last things that they are good, have maintained. So there's this just, you can't have a revisit of the state lottery where there were no Europeans that did the type of algebra or algorithms and mathematics that the number runners and the policy holders were doing when they did numbers and Madam Queen and Bumpy Johnson and the hundreds of people, thousands of them throughout the country over, the years. And so they locked up Madam St. Clair or Madam Queenie. And that's how they got that technology. She wound up getting hundreds of mobsters and government employees arrested for being in the gangster world. However, at the same time, she had to tell them everything about the mathematics and the formulas and equations that are used to calculate the numbers industry. And they turned that into Pennsylvania State Lottery, turned it into the New York Lottery, they turned it into Powerball. You see? So they've been acting like we didn't invent the thing that benefits them the most, and they don't really give it to seniors like they say. Seniors, this benefits older Pennsylvanians, I guess, but I'm not sure. So, however, they pretended that we had to pull ourselves up by the bootstraps as if we didn't come up with anything. You see what I'm saying? Like we didn't come up with nothing, but we did. And that was our banking system as a part of our banking system of commerce. So that's what they're doing with these Yemenis and other Middle Eastern and foreign smoke shops. You see, they're taking yet the Asiatics economy, which they say was bad for so long, making it legal in New Jersey, Colorado, making trillions, billions. Then they legalize, and then all the Rastas feel so bad worldwide, saying, "Wow, we were fighting to legalize it." Now I'm making blogs, speeches over the last 10 years saying legalizing it. They found a way to pimp that, and they don't give our people no growers licenses, or let's say this dispensary licenses. So shouts out to those who have created those groups that deal with the medical marijuana, and they have indigenous peoples organizations and tribal affiliations and such. They're pressing on to the corporate and commonwealth jurisdictions in order to what, carve out a lane so that we could always be grandmothered in. You know what I'm saying? We'd be grandfathered in. And so that's like a lot of what I do. So I have seen some organizations out there, honors to them, who are working with that in relation to indigenous people. Well, this how we're doing it in relationship to commerce and original Moors here, American Moors, here to make sure that we have our economy and they don't bump us out and they got our dispensaries and all that. And we'd be just like the smoky Moors on the front of the package from 100, 200 years ago, whereas they have a smoky Moor looking dark skinned outside of every thrift store from here to California, and had a pipe and all of that, and Philip Morris and everything about it is why the Camel cigarettes has a fez on there, and everything is because the only way they got tobacco was from those East Coast Moors, American Moors, Moorish Americans, right here, Sundry Free Moors, who were industry, whose industry was taken from them, and so that's what we're striving to avert, and they gotta, pay what they owe. Like Riley Freeman, you know what I'm saying? Like on Boondocks. Feel me? This Boondock Saints, praise Allah. Then so mote be. We've been high honors to Dr. Poetic Bey, and we'll have update later on. Praise Allah for all of you. And so mote be, Islam, Islam, Islam.